Hello and welcome to Straight Talk with PC. Let's talk about the topics that have been the talking point in the country. For 13 long years, the case against former Tehelka editor Tarun Tejpal stood as a glaring symbol of how India's privileged intellectual elite protects its own. But the Bombay High Court has shattered that shield. In today's episode also, let's skip the political noise and talk about something that actually affects your dinner plate, your health, and the very spine of Indian governance. Let's talk about and celebrate a man called Tukaram Mundhe. Have you heard of the boss scam and why you should be careful? My explainer. Last but not the least, the shocking case of an Air India pilot high on drugs put lives of several passengers at risk on the Phuket Delhi flight. All this and more in Straight Talk with PC. In the Tarun Tejpal decision by the Bombay High Court, one thing that we have learned is that power can buy you time. It can buy you an army of expensive lawyers, the protection of an elite old boys club, and perhaps an initial escape window. Even some women coming to defend for him. But what it cannot do is permanently outrun the truth. The truth has prevailed. For 13 long years, the case against former Tehelka editor Tarun Tejpal stood as a glaring symbol of how India's privilege protect its own. But the Bombay High Court has shattered that shield. In a landmark ruling, the High Court threw out his previous acquittal, found Tarun Tejpal guilty of rape and sexual assault, and sentenced him to 10 years of rigorous imprisonment, which he is planning to challenge in the Supreme Court. The system tried to protect him. They did everything his powerful friends tried to cover up for him. But finally, a brave survivor has won, and this is her story. Let's retrace the journey of this entire trial, a 13-year-long battle, because the victory didn't come easy for the survivor. In November 2013, when a young journalist accused her boss, the self-appointed moral conscience of the nation, of assault in a luxury hotel lift in Goa, the institutional gaslighting began immediately. First came the internal cover-up. They treated a criminal offense like an administrative error, trying to resolve a sexual assault with a bizarre self-mandated 6-month sabbatical. And when the case finally went to trial, the system inverted. In 2021, a lower sessions court shockingly acquitted Tejpal. That 527-page trial judgment didn't just acquit a powerful man, it practically put the survivor on trial. It subjected her private life, her emails, her trauma responses, and her character to hundreds of pages of humiliating cross-examination. It demanded a perfect victim, someone who behaved exactly how patriarchal stereotypes expected a traumatized woman to behave. But the High Court has called out that perversity. Justices Neela Gokhale and Amit Jamsenkar didn't just overturn a verdict, they systematically dismantled the entire defense playbook. The High Court ruled that the trial court's appreciation of evidence was entirely unreasonable and perverse in nature. They forcefully declared that we have been talking about, and I have personally been talking about for several years, the perfect victim is a myth. A woman's private text messages, her social media activity, and her lack of visible physical injuries do not equal consent. They ruled that Tejpal's initial apology emails were what they always were, admissions of guilt. The High Court has ordered Tejpal to surrender to serve his decade-long sentence and fined him over 10 lakh rupees to be paid directly to the victim. And where are those powerful friends tonight? Where are the prominent liberal voices who went completely silent when the predator sat at their dinner tables? The defense tried to lean on everything, claiming political vendetta, crying about his age, and begging for leniency. His family is still aggressively pushing the narrative that he is the real victim of a conspiracy. But the law has spoken. Gender stereotypes do not equal reasonable doubt. This script was supposed to be about a broken system, but the Bombay High Court just rewrote the ending. This is a monumental victory for every single woman in a corporate or media office or political spaces who looks at a powerful superior and wonders if anyone will stand by her if she chooses to speak up. For 13 years, the survivor was isolated, character assassinated, and professionally sidelined. Yet she refused to keep quiet. She refused to be erased. She fought the old boys club. She fought the whisper campaigns, and she won. Tejpal's lawyers say they will appeal to the Supreme Court. Let them, because the precedent set by the High Court has laid down a flawless legal truth. Power, prestige, and high society connections cannot alter the fact that no means a no. The cover-up failed. The powerful friends couldn't save him. Tarun Tejpal is a convicted rapist facing a decade behind bars. In today's episode, let's skip the political noise and talk about something that actually affects your dinner plate, your health, and the very spine of Indian governance. Let's talk about and let's celebrate a man called Tukaram Mundhe. If you haven't been following the news out of Maharashtra, let me catch you up. In May 2026, a 2005 batch IAS officer took over as the state's Food and Drug Administration Commissioner. It was his 25th transfer in 21 years of service. Let that sink in. More than one transfer every single year. Usually, when the system shunts an officer that many times, it is definitely an attempt to break that person's spirit, tire them out, or tuck them away where they can't make trouble or they can't expose some plain truths. But the system completely miscalculated Tukaram Mundhe. Instead of sitting quietly in his new cabin, Mundhe lit a fire. Within less than 3 months, he initiated a relentless scorched earth crackdown on food adulteration, synthetic milk rackets, fake paneer, and the unhygienic kitchen, something I had even been raising in my zero-hour interventions in the parliament. Iconic eateries, high-end elite clubs, and massive food manufacturers in Mumbai and Pune were suddenly facing surprise raids and immediate suspensions. When the Bombay High Court asked him why his team was only targeting private canteens, what did Mundhe do? He didn't blink. The very next morning, his officers walked straight into the Bombay High Court's own canteen to inspect it. That is what you call uncompromised blind enforcement of the law and keeping people's health supreme. And you know what the most beautiful fallout of this crackdown has been? It has completely shaken the collective conscience of this nation. Social media is flooded with citizens from Delhi, Bengaluru, and Kolkata asking one simple question: where is our Tukaram Mundhe? People are waking up to the fact that we don't have to just accept slow poisoning via adulterated food as part of Indian life. We need to be holding them accountable. And it's not just the public applauding. Behind closed doors, honest young bureaucrats across the country, the ones who entered the civil services dreaming of real change, are watching him. They're seeing an officer who refuses to be broken by the threat of a transfer. They want to emulate him. And we must emulate heroes. But here is the straight talk, the uncomfortable truth. The establishment doesn't want you to think about. Why must an IAS officer become a legendary folklore hero just for doing his job? Why do we treat a public servant enforcing basic safety rules as a biological miracle? It's because our system has become so comfortable with compromise that absolute integrity looks like a rebellion, looks like a shining star work or stellar work. Reports even surfaced in the state assembly alleging that massive financial pools were being moved by the illegal lobbies just to get this one man transferred. Think about that. Lobbies are more terrified of one honest officer with a clipboard than an entire penal code. Prominent corporate leaders and citizens alike are screaming from the rooftops. Stop this business of punishment transfers. Protect the officers who protect public trust. And Tukaram Mundhe is doing just that, building public trust. Tukaram Mundhe has proven that one single unbending spine can alter the discipline of an entire state within days. If every state capital empowers just 3 officers like him and leaves them in peace to do their jobs, the face of Indian governance will transform overnight. The nation has woken up, and the message to the powers that be is loud and clear. We don't want compliance on paper. We want the Mundhe model of governance nationwide. And let that be the beacon of how governance is accountable to its citizenry. Now let's talk about the fake boss trap. Don't let a message ruin your career. Think about this. You're in the middle of work, it's a busy Tuesday, your phone pings, and it's your boss or your CEO. Their photo is there, their name is there, and they say, I'm in a super confidential meeting. I need you to transfer 10 lakhs to this vendor immediately. It's a secret deal, not to be spoken, just transfer the money. Don't call me, I can't talk, just do it. What would you do? You want to look like a superstar. You want to comply. You want to do whatever your boss has asked you to do. You want to be one of the boss's trusted accountants. So you hit the send. But wait, you just fell for the boss scam. This is not a movie plot. It's happening right now in offices across India from Bengaluru to Mumbai. Crooks are stealing thousands of crores by pretending to be the boss. How does this work? And I'll just simplify this for you. And what they do are two simple ways. First is the hijack. They send the boss a fake file, like a tax statement or an RBI report. If the boss opens it on the computer, the hackers steal access to his WhatsApp, his or her WhatsApp. Now the hacker becomes the boss. Every message they send looks 100% real because it's coming from the WhatsApp account belonging to the boss. They can also do an AI clone. What they do is use AI to copy the boss's voice from a YouTube video. They might even call you. It sounds like them, but it's a computer. What are the red flags you should be watching out for in case you get a call like that? If you see these three things, your boss is probably not your boss, but a scammer. The don't call me rule. If they say, I'm busy, don't call, it's because they don't want you to hear a different voice. That is your number one warning sign. The secret deal. If they ask you to keep the payment a secret or bypass the usual company rules, they're trying to hide from your financial team. Third is the panic. They create an emergency situation. They want you to act fast so that you don't get the chance to think. And what are the steps you can take to ensure that you do not become a part of that scam? Protect your job and your company's money with this. Call them anyway. Use the number saved in your phone. If they don't pick up, which is your boss and they're calling, if they don't pick up, don't pay. Real bosses appreciate caution. Scammers hate it. Check your WhatsApp settings. Go to linked devices. If you see a computer you don't recognize, log it out now. Do not accept any zip files. Never open a random attachment sent on WhatsApp, even if it looks official. In the digital world, yes, boss can be the most expensive words you ever say. So stop, think, verify, and if you've been hit, call 1930 immediately rather than become a victim of such scams. Today, a very important topic that can endanger several hundreds of lives. Being high on drugs at 35,000 feet. The Air India scare that scared the nation and has shaken the nation. When you step onto a commercial airliner, you're making the ultimate leap of faith. You seal yourself in a metal tube, fly at 35,000 feet, and completely trust your life to the two people sitting in that cockpit. You assume they're sharp, rested, and hyper alert. You do not expect them to be high on drugs. But on August 4, 2026, 105 people on board an Air India flight from Phuket to Delhi looked death right in the face. Mid-flight, the Airbus A320 hit severe turbulence and suddenly plunged 300 feet in seconds. The cabin turned into pure chaos. People were thrown from their seats, food carts flew into the air. When the plane finally landed in Delhi, 24 passengers and cabin crew members were rushed to the hospital, some suffering from severe spinal and neck injuries. At first, Air India called it an unpredictable natural disaster. Severe turbulence, they said, a bad day in the sky. But today, we have the real terrifying truth. And that should anger every single person. When the plane touched down, the authorities ran a mandatory dope test on the flight crew. The pilot in command's initial test came back non-negative. That means positive. Air India stayed quiet, waiting for laboratory confirmation. Well, the official confirmatory lab reports are finally out. The pilot in command of that flight tested positive for marijuana. Let that sink in. While 137 innocent passengers were trusting the captain with their lives, the man flying the plane was navigating a 300-foot mid-air drop while under the active influence of a psychoactive drug. Now, the aviation boards are scrambling. The AAIB is investigating. The pilot has been grounded and taken off the roster. Civil Aviation Minister Ram Naidu has promised to rewrite the laws and tighten drug testing protocols if needed. But here is a straight question and a straight talk that Air India and the DGCA do not want to answer. How did he get into the cockpit in the first place? India has incredibly strict pre-flight breath analyzer tests for alcohol. But what about random drug screenings for psychoactive substances? Why are we testing a pilot after a near-fatal plunge instead of testing him before they even start the engine? Think about the sheer trauma of the passengers on that Phuket flight. For 5 minutes, they thought they were going to die. Parents were clutching their children while the plane fell literally through the sky. And to now learn that a person who was supposed to protect them had compromised his own brain functioning. That isn't a safety lapse, that is a criminal negligence. Air India has been trying hard to rebuild its global image under the Tata banner. But from crumbling cabins to cockroaches in food, and now a captain failing multiple dope tests after a mid-air crisis, the airline's credibility is in absolute freefall. The DGCA needs to stop treating safety like a reaction checklist. We do not need tougher laws after tragedy. We need uncompromised zero tolerance enforcement before the wheel even leaves the tarmac. The passengers of flight AI 2379 got lucky. They survived a 300-foot drop and walked away. But the Indian aviation sector might not get lucky next time. It is time to clean up the cockpits and no excuses. However, there is one question, questions I have been raising repeatedly even in the parliament, about the functioning of Air India under a private company. Tata Trust is a dependable brand, but regularly we have been seeing Air India flout all norms, right from the plane crash to the investigation reports still pending and still awaited, to now this. How many more such near-fatal accidents would Air India record to be able to promise safety and a better flying experience for its people? And my other question is, it could sound controversial, why should a private company carry the tag of India and undermine the nation because it can't get its own house in order? Think about it and let me know through your comments, what do you think of this incident and all the issues that I have raised in the episode of Straight Talk with PC. Thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to like, subscribe and press the bell icon to get all updates instantly as soon as they're put up on my channel.